Svitolina.
Yeah, it's very hard to believe that it's been 8 years when I had this trophy here, and very pleased, of course, with a week here, 2 weeks here. But firstly, I want to say congrats to Coco for a great tournament, for your team as well. He's such a great champion, and hopefully to have more battles with you in the future. Then I want to thank my team. I had a tough loss in the final in Dubai this year, and it was my 19 title, and I was aiming for 20. As I told my coach that it would be nice before I finish my career to have a round number. So he told me that hopefully we're gonna get this year. So I'm very
my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, always keeping me covered, and just a source of calmness for me. So yeah, and then I would like to thank my team. I'm sorry I couldn't play a little bit better in some moments today, but it's been a great 2 weeks with you guys, and I definitely feel the momentum going into French Open, so a lot of lessons learned from this match, but we keep going, and I appreciate you guys. I also like to thank my mom who's here, my dad who's at home, and the rest of my family supporting me too. I'd like to thank all the ball kids, all the umpires, volunteers, staff, locker room staff, everyone who makes this tournament possible, making it as easy as possible for us players to show up on the court. I appreciate each and every person that I see and don't see. And then also I would like to thank you guys, the fans. I know it is cold, it's been raining, it's late, I'm ready to go to sleep. I'm sure you guys are too, so thank you so much, and I hope I didn't forget anything else. So yeah, thank you, grazie Roma, see you next year.
Listen to the deafening, earth-shattering roar of the crowd vibrating through the very foundation of center court. A pure, visceral explosion of human emotion that signals the arrival of an absolute gladiatorial masterpiece. A championship final so heavily dripping with high-stakes drama and suffocating tension that it threatens to completely stop your heart right inside your chest. We are standing at the absolute epicenter of the sporting universe right now, staring down the barrel of a monumental, cinematic collision between two of the most ferocious, uncompromising warriors to ever pick up a tennis racket, in a match that will be burned into the retinas of every single fan lucky enough to witness it. In the near corner, bringing the absolute fire and thunder of 1,000 raging storms, is the brilliant, explosive, terrifyingly athletic American superstar, the third-seeded phenomenon Coco Gauff, a player who literally defies gravity with her supernatural movement and absolute rocket launcher of a forehand. And standing directly in her path, completely unmoved by the hype, radiating the cold, calculating, terrifying aura of a battle-hardened conqueror, is the unbreakable Ukrainian Iron Woman, the 7th-seeded Elina Svitolina, a veteran mastermind who thrives in the deepest, darkest, most agonizing trenches of physical warfare. This is absolutely not merely a game of tennis. This is a spectacular, blood-pumping, oxygen-depriving battle for absolute supremacy on one of the most hallowed, prestigious stages in the entire world, a place where legends are violently forged and dreams are ruthlessly shattered under the blinding, unforgiving lights of championship pressure. As they walk out from the shadows of the tunnel, the electricity in the air is so unimaginably thick, so completely saturated with anticipation, that every single spectator is gripping the absolute edge of their seat, fully aware that they are about to embark on a punishing, brutal, spectacular three-set marathon that will push the absolute limits of human endurance, tactical brilliance, and raw, unfiltered emotional willpower. Gauff's eyes are wide, burning with a frantic, desperate hunger to conquer the world and validate every ounce of her prodigious talent, while Svitolina's gaze is a terrifying, icy stare of pure, unadulterated focus, an unshakable resolve to carry the massive emotional weight of her triumphant return and her country's pride straight to the winner's podium. The warm-ups are a blur of terrifying pace and heavy spin, the sheer sound of the ball exploding off their strings echoing like cannon fire across the massive stadium, setting the stage for a dramatic, unforgettable collision of youth versus experience, raw power versus impenetrable defense, and explosive passion versus icy calculation. Buckle up, lock your doors, and brace yourselves for the absolute ride of your life, because center court is about to explode into total pandemonium, right from the very first, terrifyingly violent strike of the optic yellow ball. The tactical battle lines are aggressively and permanently drawn, immediately plunging us into a deeply complex, mind-bending chess match being played at a blinding, whiplash-inducing speed of 100 miles per hour. Coco Gauff comes flying out of the starting blocks with absolute, terrifying aggression, desperately seeking to completely blow Svitolina off the court with sheer, unadulterated firepower, incredibly landing a staggering, almost impossible 85% of her massive, thunderous first serves in a desperate, frantic bid to dictate the early terms of this brutal engagement. But witness the absolute jaw-dropping tactical genius of Elina Svitolina. Despite facing an absolute barrage of high-speed artillery, the Ukrainian veteran immediately constructs an impenetrable brick wall fortress right at the baseline, utilizing her almost supernatural telepathic anticipation and flawless dancing footwork to completely neutralize the Americans' greatest weapon. The statistics flashing on the giant scoreboard are absolutely mind-blowing and tell a terrifying story of Svitolina's returning masterclass. Despite that monstrous 85% first serve clip from Gauff, the young American is somehow only managing to win a totally shocking 58% of those specific points. Svitolina is literally reading the blistering serves like a giant, neon-lit billboard, stepping aggressively into the court, absorbing the heavy, thudding impact, and immediately neutralizing the rally with deep, punishing, incredibly precise returns that instantly put the powerful Gauff directly on the back foot. The sheer physical intensity of the baseline exchanges is completely staggering, a grueling, lung-busting tug-of-war where Svitolina methodically, ruthlessly maneuvers Gauff from dusty corner to dusty corner, continuously testing her patience and steadily, inevitably forcing the crucial errors. The suffocating, unrelenting pressure on Gauff's shoulders is absolutely immense, a crushing weight that eventually manifests in agonizing, heartbreaking double faults, a painful vulnerability that would ultimately see her commit 7 disastrous double faults across the entirety of this agonizingly tight contest. Svitolina, operating with the terrifying, cold-blooded surgical precision of an elite sniper, ruthlessly pounces on absolutely every single tiny opening, converting her critical breakpoint opportunities with a terrifying, icy calmness, firmly establishing her tactical dominance over the completely frustrated American prodigy, with a brilliant, calculated, and utterly ruthless efficiency that completely silences the massive, incredibly vocal pro-Gauff contingent seated in the roaring stadium. Svitolina firmly seizes total, undeniable control of the first set's narrative, expertly breaking the frustrated youngster's initial, fiery resistance to definitively, authoritatively claim the grueling opening frame 6-4, sending a massive, reverberating psychological shockwave of pure veteran dominance directly across the battered, sweat-stained clay of center court. But if you think for one single solitary second that the phenomenal, fiercely competitive Coco Gauff is simply going to roll over and surrender this monumental championship, then you absolutely do not know the terrifying, unstoppable heart of this incredible young lioness. Marching fiercely back onto the court for the incredibly crucial, absolutely vital second set, the sheer, unadulterated defiance violently radiating from the young American is completely palpable. A burning, ferocious, absolute refusal to let this massive title slip quietly into the night, without dragging her incredibly resilient opponent into the absolute deepest, darkest, most agonizingly painful trenches of a grueling physical dogfight. The second set miraculously and instantly transforms into a spectacular, awe-inspiring, blood-pumping gladiatorial exhibition of absolute physical and emotional warfare, where literally every single solitary point is fiercely, violently contested as if the entire championship depended solely upon it. Gauff brilliantly and aggressively dials her intensity up to an absolute terrifying maximum capacity, injecting even more explosive heavy pace into her colossal, whip-like forehand and miraculously utilizing her once-in-a-generation, completely spectacular court coverage to somehow chase down incredibly angled laser beam shots that would be guaranteed clean winners against literally any other human being currently walking the face of the earth. She fiercely, relentlessly forces the absolute issue on every single grueling exchange, aggressively attacking Svitolina's defenses and miraculously manufacturing an agonizingly high, totally incredible number of breakpoint opportunities, creating an astonishing, mind-boggling 17 total chances across the entirety of this epic, exhausting match. She is desperately, frantically throwing the absolute kitchen sink at the Ukrainian, violently trying to crack Svitolina's seemingly impenetrable veteran armor. Yet, standing unbelievably tall against the terrifying, unrelenting barrage, Svitolina remains completely and utterly magnificent under the heaviest of fire, miraculously and bravely saving breakpoint after crucial breakpoint with astonishing, breathtaking defensive wizardry, deeply frustrating the incredibly fired-up Gauff time and time again, as the fiercely competitive American is tragically only able to successfully convert a heartbreaking mere 3 of those 17 incredibly crucial, totally match-altering chances. The capacity crowd is simultaneously whipped into an absolute, feverish, deafening frenzy, roaring with absolute delirium at every spectacular, impossible winner, and groaning with deep, shared, agonizing pain at every tight, heartbreaking, unforced error. As the giant scoreboard inches incredibly slowly, agonizingly toward an absolutely inevitable, terrifyingly dramatic tiebreak, the severe physical toll of the brutal rallies begins to visibly show on both exhausted women. Yet miraculously, their indomitable fighting spirit refuses to yield a single inch. When the highly anticipated, completely decisive tiebreak finally arrives, the atmosphere inside the massive stadium is an absolute pressure cooker, ready to violently explode. It is precisely here, locked within this ultimate, unforgiving crucible, that Gauff's incredible, explosive athleticism finally ignites to its absolute brightest, miraculously summoning a breathtaking, totally unstoppable sequence of aggressively massive, entirely fearless baseline strikes that finally incredibly overwhelm Svitolina's defenses. With the enormous crowd screaming her name, Gauff ruthlessly dictates the terms, fiercely seizing the momentum with a spectacular roar, winning the breaker decisively 7 points to 3, and sending this unbelievable blockbuster straight into a massive winner-take-all third set. As the final, incredibly decisive, terrifyingly dramatic third set officially commences, the absolute ultimate question hanging incredibly heavy over the roaring, vibrating stands of center court is exactly who possesses the deeper, hidden, completely unbreakable reserves of raw physical stamina and crucial emotional fortitude after such an impossibly grueling, deeply exhausting 2-set baseline marathon. Svitolina, brilliantly demonstrating the absolute icy, unwavering veins of a true, legendary tested champion, miraculously executes a phenomenal, complete mental reset that entirely and immediately alters the absolute trajectory of this entire championship final. Instead of visibly reeling from the devastating, emotionally draining loss of the high-octane second-set tiebreak, the incredibly seasoned Ukrainian emerges from her chair with a frighteningly renewed, laser-like focus and an impossibly high, deeply impressive, terrifying level of strict tactical discipline. She brilliantly, astutely recognizes that Gauff's incredibly high initial first serve percentage is inevitably and steadily dropping as deep, agonizing physical fatigue finally, brutally begins to set in, and she brutally, unmercifully capitalizes on the young American's increasingly fragile, highly vulnerable second serve. Svitolina's absolute, complete tactical mastery is totally reflected and undeniably proven in the final, staggering statistics, proudly boasting a phenomenal, match-winning 68% win rate on her very own second serve compared to Gauff's agonizing, heavily punished 50%, a totally crucial, mathematically decisive differential that quickly, violently becomes the absolute defining, unarguable, brutal factor of the championship's final act. Gauff, desperately, heroically pushing her incredibly athletic body to its absolute physical limits, tragically begins to show devastating, insurmountable cracks under the relentless, suffocating, completely unbroken, agonizing pressure applied continuously by the incredibly steady veteran. Svitolina, practically smelling the proverbial blood in the water, flawlessly shifts into an entirely unstoppable, totally dominant, championship-winning gear, miraculously and impressively reeling off an absolutely incredible, breathtaking, devastating 5 maximum games won in a row to completely, ruthlessly shatter the Americans' final, desperate resistance. It is a truly stunning, absolute masterclass display of complete tactical superiority, and totally ironclad, unwavering consistency, leaving the incredibly fast teenager completely stranded and frantically searching for answers that simply do not exist. Svitolina masterfully absorbs absolutely every single ounce of terrifying power that Gauff desperately throws at her and brilliantly redirects it with completely terrifying, geometric precision, completely dominating the crucial service games down the final stretch. She ultimately and incredibly wins a staggering 76 total service points, compared to Gauff's 62 across the entire, gruelingly long match, authoritatively and emphatically securing 12 total service games to Gauff's 9. The momentum has violently transformed into an absolute, rushing avalanche, a massive, unstoppable tidal wave of sheer, veteran determination that completely, undeniably overwhelms the talented young American star, brutally leaving Gauff completely helpless as the final, deciding set slips rapidly, painfully, and completely irreversibly from her desperate grasp. As the red clay dust finally, slowly begins to settle on this absolutely epic, legendary, unforgettable baseline war, and the incredible Elina Svitolina triumphantly, spectacularly converts the final, thrilling championship-clinching point to win the deciding set 6-2. The raw, unfiltered, deeply moving emotion that powerfully, uncontrollably pours out of the victorious Ukrainian is absolutely, completely spine-tingling for every single person in the massive stadium to witness. She instantly drops her racket to the sacred clay, her trembling hands entirely covering her tear-streaked face, as the sheer, unbelievable magnitude of her phenomenal, incredibly hard-fought 6-4, 6-7, 6-2 championship victory entirely washes over her, the incredibly passionate crowd instantly rising to their feet in a completely deafening, thunderous, unbelievable minutes-long standing ovation that literally shakes the very concrete foundations of the arena. The final, absolutely fascinating match statistics completely, undeniably tell the grueling, beautiful story of an incredibly close, deeply punishing physical marathon, where seasoned experience and totally flawless, icy tactical execution ultimately, decisively triumphed over raw, terrifying, explosive youthful power, with the brilliant Svitolina impressively winning a total of 127 grueling points to the valiant Gauff's deeply respectable, hard-fought 115. It is an absolutely brilliant, completely career-defining, completely legendary masterclass in sheer human resilience from the amazing Svitolina, a beautiful, shining, undeniable testament to her entirely unbreakable spirit, her immaculate, unmatched physical conditioning, and her unparalleled, totally spectacular ability to flawlessly execute a complex, deeply strategic game plan under the absolute most suffocating, terrifying pressure imaginable in the history of the sport. For the incredibly talented Coco Gauff, despite the deep, agonizing, soul-crushing heartbreak of falling just agonizingly short in this spectacular final, this incredible, grueling match is undeniably yet another crucial, deeply invaluable, character-building chapter in her completely spectacular, totally inevitable, undeniable evolution toward absolute tennis greatness, proving to the entire world that she possesses the roaring, massive heart of a true champion who will fiercely fight to the absolute bitter end. But on this incredible, beautiful, completely unforgettable day, the shining, blinding spotlight, the ultimate historic glory, and the massive, glorious championship trophy undeniably, completely, and totally belong to the phenomenal Elina Svitolina. She miraculously and bravely weathered the incredible, terrifying, violent storm of the American phenom's raw power, flawlessly absorbed the phenomenal, blistering pace, expertly, beautifully navigated the incredibly treacherous, wildly swinging emotional swings of a totally spectacular final, and proudly, triumphantly emerged completely, undeniably victorious. This was emphatically not just a tennis match. It was a breathtaking, completely unforgettable, beautifully poetic exhibition of sheer human endurance, brilliant tactical mastery, and the completely relentless, totally undeniable, beautifully inspiring power of the resilient human spirit, cementing Svitolina's incredible legacy forever in the glorious, immortal annals of tennis history.